We're back, folks. Welcome again to the Inside Line F1 podcast. And today we're discussing the first real test of the 2026 Formula One season. But Formula One does not want to call it a test. What's this nonsense all about, Kunal? It is a test, isn't it?
Well, it's a test because the engineers and their concepts are being tested, yes. But it's also not a test because F1 wants to call it a shakedown, or the teams want to call it a shakedown. And it's not the official test because it's not being broadcast or it's behind closed doors. But it's also a shakedown, but it's also private. What is actually happening, Soumil Arora?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't understand the delineation between what's a shakedown and what's a test. Like in my head, like a shakedown is just like installation laps and just generally getting the car warmed up. But when you have teams like Mercedes who are doing over 1,000 laps, I don't think you can call it a shakedown. And a shakedown's only 1 day, not 3 days. Like,
I'll tell you what. I was very curious to know where does the term shakedown originate from, right? It's from the 14th century. It literally means shake and see if things fall off, right? So a shakedown means shake it and see if things actually fall off. And maybe that's what the teams are trying to do, shake their 2026 cars. And if the car actually shakes and falls off, then they know, oops, we're getting it all wrong when it comes to the start of the season. So, very funny term, but there is logic even in the term, Somil, just as there's logic to everything that Formula One did. Like, why was
no,
it
no, no, no,
even?
no, 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 no.
No,
There's not logic to everything that Formula One did. There's one thing that simply does not make any sense about what Formula One did.
which
You know what it
is
is, Kunal. You know what it is.
going private, having the test behind closed doors, not allowing media, broadcasters, fans in it.
Fine, fine. But not allowing fans and journalists to get on top of a hill to watch the Formula One cars. So people have to resort to booking a helicopter and taking videos from there to capture shots, which is what one fan on Twitter did. Come on.
He just
Come
had,
on.
or she just had helicopter lessons and they decided to fly it over Catalonia. I think that's very wise, very brave. Next thing you know, F1 is going to have air support, like you have those AMRAMs, like anyone coming closer to the circuit. And they don't have too far to call. Just call the circuit at, Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, do
You know where that's coming
that,
from.
I know where that's coming from. And if you know, you know. But what's next? Do it in an underground bunker? I come on. Okay, I understand not having the media at the track. I understand the intention of wanting to protect the test from the worst. And I get that we are far away from 2014, which is again the worst case scenario where teams were doing only 20, 30 odd laps in a test. But nonetheless, fail publicly. It's okay. We'll be part of that journey with you. Like, it's okay to fail. You're a Formula One team. You will get it right at some point. And I
I,
know what you're going to say, Kunal,
I'll tell
about
you.
PR and imaging,
No,
but
I'll tell
still,
you. Firstly, I love the situation Formula One is in because I was a part of Formula One when we used to go testing and nobody cared. We used to go racing and very few people cared. And now we are in this space where how dared you run a car and not involve us fans? And that's the phase we're in. And I tell you what, Somil, it's a beautiful situation to be in. We've
yeah.
already said where there is about what almost 900 million fans around the world. And yes, I understand why teams wanted it to be behind doors. It's emerging as the shakedown week has happened that this shakedown was something the teams had planned so that they get it right. And truth be told, Formula One, with all the exposure globally that the sport has been getting, it is understandable that the teams want to control narratives. There are shareholders involved, there's a lot of money involved. And what is the narrative, right? 2014, the nightmare hasn't gone away, right? Where Renault engines were blowing up and Ferrari engines were blowing up. So they said, why don't we just start small? Why we know we're going to put on a show for 24 races, six sprints, and two tests. Why don't we just start small? Why don't we make sure that engines are not blowing? And that is not the first public image of Formula One and the teams worldwide. So I get both sides of it. But of course, I wish I was there, and I wish fans were allowed, and I wish this was celebrated as yet another rules era in Formula One's history.
Yeah, listen, I get all of that. It can be a big PR disaster. And I know what I'm saying is very outcome oriented because the engines have not been as bad. Hence, I can look back and be like, okay, it wasn't so bad. So, what's the fuss all about? But the thing is, people have tried really hard just to get a glimpse of that, just to get a glimpse of the cars, just to see what they sound like, just to see what they look like. I think that needs to be respected. Like, I don't, I'm not for the idea of blocking off public spaces where people can just overlook the circuit and trying to impose fines. I think that is a whole heap of nonsense. Like, everything else, not allowing access to all journalists, not having media, having your own private TV crew to record highlights that you can then put out, that is fine. I understand. But like, come on, fans, imagine, Kunal, fans have taken out days from their work or they've decided not to spend days with their family. And here they are trying to watch Formula One cars, and what they're getting in return is getting a fine. It's it just does not sit right.
Were
It
they
just
actually fined, or were they threatened with a fine?
threatened with fines.
Yeah, and was the fine going to the cops, or was it going to the FIA? That's
That's a
always
good
the question.
question. Who was collecting the fines? Was it the Spanish police or was it people hired by the MBS governance?
Good
We never
question.
know.
Yeah.
But hey, this is the point of the episode where we must ask you guys to subscribe to us. Why? It really helps supporting the channel, and you'll be up to date with everything that we do on the Sideline F1 podcast. Lots of fun guests from the paddock coming in this year as well. So make sure you sign up for that. And make sure you're following us on all of social media channels. I'm Soumil Arora at Kunal Shah at Sideline F1 Podcast. Make sure you're keeping up with all the cool stuff that we're doing and we intend to do for this 2026 season. But the big question has to be put on, and I'll put the pressure on you, Kunal. One word answer: are Mercedes going to be world champions in 2026? Yes or no?
Yes, they're going to be world champions in 2026 with George Russell. Oh,
High five.
high five.
High
But
five.
are
Is
you?
it too soon?
I'm going to flip the question back to you. Are they the favorites for the season already?
Yes. Yes.
You as well? Are you also picking
Yeah.
George, or are you picking Kimi?
I'm picking George. Oh, you know what? Sorry. At this stage, this is my mind activating here because my mind logically says I personally believe the strongest driver in the entire Mercedes power unit roster at this moment is George. And this includes the Williams teams. And this includes Alpine, this includes McLaren, everybody. And I will stand on that hill. At this moment, I feel he's the most likely to win. But then my heart is like, are you going to discredit the recent world champion just like that? And the man who almost beat him, and I wouldn't say got screwed out, but kind of got put away. Like, am I just going to ignore Lando and Oscar like that? But I'm going to stand on that hill. I think George for the favorite.
Yeah, I think as well. And but yours, of course, for
Great,
all.
great. This is it. Like, before an episode, Kunal and I are always like, let's ask each other a question that can potentially spark up some opinions and cause some debate. This time we're agreeing on something. It's great. Like, but okay, what is there reason for us to think otherwise, Kunal? Let's ask that question first.
Very, very interesting. Yes, there is reason for us to think otherwise. Because what is a shakedown? What is a private test? Yes, we've explained you shake the car and do things fall off. But when things don't fall off, when you pick up all the mileage, so Mercedes has done, 500 plus laps, most laps for any team. But the next question is, the lap times that they did, were they consistently able to do those lap times, which is what we call as stints in Formula One? Were they able to hit a consistent lap time mark, right? That means they're following a program. Of course, we don't know what fuel loads they were running, as always, what engine modes they were running. I'm pretty sure all the modes were conservative modes, right? We don't know what tires they were running, although we know what tires they were running. Things, the data was masked as well. So in my mind, Mercedes seemed very, very strong on the lap time as well as the PR front. Let's be honest. Mercedes
Yeah.
also sounded so confident because typically everyone says, yeah, we've got a lot to learn. Everything is changing. And, we are still figuring where we are. Mercedes, on when they had the strongest day of testing, said, we are actually further ahead than we should be. We should have been, we were caught out by other people causing red flags. That's how strong a start they've had. And these things matter because a shakedown is where you collect data and then you go back and you crunch that data. So the more data you collect, the better it is.
Yeah, and Mercedes had a flex from Shakedown. They lost more laps due to other people's problems than their own problems. So other people messing things up was messing up Mercedes' run plan. There is a reason why we do count George as the favorite for the title this year. Let's not rule out McLaren, though. Let's be very honest. And we then just have to zoom out and be like, what did we learn? We
Yeah.
learned that Mercedes are very fast in terms of getting things prepped for a new season. We saw this in 2014. We saw this in 2026 as well now. Are they fast on the track consistently? Yet to learn. We learned that Ferrari are very consistent. We'll get to that in a second. We learned that Cadillac can put a car on track and it can work. We learned that a new power unit will take time, as it is the case with Audi. And let's not shame them for it. It's a mammoth task that they're taking on. And we've learned that it is not something simple. So yeah, that is another big learning for us. What else did you learn, Kunal, from
I
testing so far?
I learned
I'm
that.
not calling it shakedown deliberately.
Well, I learned that, a test is where the teams have to be absolutely honest with themselves, because you don't you do all the hiding, you do all the sandbagging when it comes to the free practice sessions and so on, but with limited testing. And that's also to be said why testing is always limited, because if testing was unlimited, the teams with most amount of money would just continue to test and continue to outdevelop their rivals. But by having limited testing, Formula One is making sure, again, it's a level playing field. So one of the things I learned is, yes, F1 is still too big to fail, which is why they were behind closed doors. I fully understand that. I learned that 2014 nightmares were not founded in 2026, right? I think every team put in a bulk of laps. If the teams were asked today, would you like your shakedown to be broadcast to the world? Would you like fans to actually come and watch you, shaking down your cars? What do you think they would have answered, Soumil?
Uh, they clearly have given their answer, which is no.
No, if they were to do it post facto. So, yes, the original answer was no before the shakedown. But
Yeah.
now that we've had such a successful shakedown, I think the teams would have said, yeah, by all means, bring everyone in. We want to show the world how Formula One has made such an impact on the engineering side of
Hmm.
things and still delivered solid results. So, apart from Williams not showing up, pretty much all 10 teams had successful programs, at least from the outside.
Did they? Are you forgetting that your old team has had probably one of the weirdest first impressions of a Formula One car I've ever seen? By the way, folks, for all of you who don't know, Kunal used to work at the Silverstone team, which was Force India, still is in our heart, then Racing Point, and now Aston Martin Honda. Let's just take a second. Let's just take a second to talk about it. I was supposed to bring this up later, but here we are. Aston Martin basically just came here to Aura Farm. They just came here to show how crazy their design looks and how extreme the concept was with Adrian Newey. And just to get like a very minimal test program in. But the car stopped consistently. Are we going to judge them for it? No. It's a new power unit with Honda. It's a new operation. Everything's fresh. But calling it a successful test for them is on the borderline, I feel.
No, I actually believe on the contrary, Samuel, because they said it was by design that they wanted to drive only on Thursday, on Friday. And when you add it all up, Adrian Newey's got a car that's got overreactions from everyone on social media and in the paddock. He did not want to reveal this car on Monday. Let's assume that's the case, right?
Again, aura farming.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if you're Adrian Newey, the one car every single person wanted to get a glimpse of was that Aston Martin. So why not go and farm all that aura as you can on the track, off the track? And yes, they had issues with Lance Stroll, but I believe the running that they had with Fernando Alonso was fairly decent, 65 odd laps that they pulled out.
Yep. Yep.
And, I'll put it this way: Mercedes prepared. They came prepared as though they were preparing for this exam since 2024. right? They just came, like that topper in the class. You just know that this student is going to have a very stable, very predictable outcome to the exam. And then there's Adrian Newey. He left Red Bull in the middle of all the drama there. He had a gardening leave. He was working on the RB17, a road car, and then suddenly he's brought in. He's changed the team. He's changed the structure. He's become a team principal. So he's one of those late bloomers saying, I don't need to study so much. I just know what the car looks like. And if my car needs time to get ready on track, so be it. Let's delay everything. But I know I'll come with the fastest car that I could possibly make.
That's what they did eventually. Do we know where Aston Martin are? No. Do we know it's a pretty looking car? Yes. Do we like it for it? Absolutely. Do we wish we got to see more of it? Yes. But there's filming day coming up. More content from it will come down too. So make sure you're watching, folks. There is still a lot of stuff to follow. But hey, here we are. We need to also now get into our standout team from the Shakedown. Who's your standout team from the Shakedown, Kunal? Who are you picking?
I would say I'll pick Haas as the standout team, right?
Mm,
Uh, it-
wise
you know,
choice.
yeah, it's like they got out of bed and they got in the car. Everything in the car worked. Of course, there have been reliability issues, but that's been on the power unit side as far as it's been reported. But Haas is delivering that sort of consistency that I remember, we used to have at Force India, that you knew whatever car you built, of course, not taking your chances for granted, but whatever car you built was a strong enough baseline that you could build the season on and would be a strong midfield contender. So Haas, they did about 277 laps. I think Esteban Ocon did most laps for any driver out there. So Haas was my standout team, Somal.
Interesting. I was honestly going to pick them as my second standout team, but my standout team is Red Bull Powertrains. And I'll tell you why. Building a new Formula One power unit is a pain. Like, they have never done this before. Literally, this is their first power unit of any kind ever. An energy drinks manufacturer. Yes, with 20 years of racing pedigree, but let's not forget, they sell cans of energy drinks. Uh, Grateful to be working for them here in India. But the thing is, they're not supposed to be this good this early. They're not supposed to log in as many laps as they did. And remember, this is the 2014 nightmare showing its results today. Because in 2014, Red Bull got basically put behind because of an external power unit supplier. At that time, Red Bull Racing dreamed that we should have our power unit supply in house. We should be making our own power units. Today, 12 years later, that dream has come true. And on the very first outing, they were the second most successful, I'd say, joint second most with Ferrari, I'd say, in terms of power unit reliability and the number of laps they've clocked in. It's
Yes.
incredible, Kunal. The first time we saw Audi struggling, and this is going to be a repeated trend. Honda obviously kept it conservative with their running too. But for a new power unit to enter in and to be so good and so consistent with two teams, that's remarkable. That's honestly remarkable.
Yes, and what I'll add about my what Red Bull learned is new power unit, new mileage, but also a crash. The struggle to get spare parts, to rebuild a new car into another new car, and then continue to go testing and picking up all that data. Because remember, data collection. This is debugging week. This is not lap time week. So any mileage you don't get actually works against you, right? But Samuel, then I have a question for you. If the Australian Grand Prix was the following weekend, which would be the top three teams on that race?
Ooh, wow. I would say Mercedes, McLaren, and I have a problem with this that people are not talking about this team enough, and I'm genuinely annoyed about it. It's Ferrari. People genuinely do not speak about how good of an engineering team Ferrari is enough. Now, at this point, the engagement rate of the podcast shoots up because a lot of angry people are like, do you not see that they've not been able to create a championship winning car for God knows how many years now? The last time they were able to fight for something was in 2018. But guys, let's not forget, Ferrari have consistently been the best, if not the second best engine manufacturer in Formula One forever. Even when they got it horribly wrong in 2014, they were back the next year immediately in 2015. And this time they've gotten the second most number of laps for any power unit manufacturer. So consistent, so smooth. You're not hearing any major technical flaws or faults. You're not seeing the car break down. Be happy.
And
Create as much noise as you would if they won a race.
and Lewis Hamilton has actually said he's happy with the car, that
Yeah.
this is a fun car to drive. It's oversteery, it is snappy, and these are the kind of, remember the big challenge that the 2022 version of the cars, which we raced all the way till 25, was what, that they're a very heavy and very lazy car when it came to driving around, very predictable, right? And some of the fastest cars are the lighter ones, more agile ones. And of course we have lost 30 kilos of weight on these cars this year itself. And if I was to pick my top three, I would actually go with Ferrari first, I would go with Mercedes second, and then I would go with McLaren third.
Oh, didn't you just say Mercedes are nailed on for title favorites?
Yes, but the first race of the season, I mean, is where Ferrari will start strongest. That's my feeling. They're going to get everything right together. This is just based on the unofficial test that we've, of course, had.
My God, that is a bold prediction if you ever ask for one. That is insane. But hey, along with this, we also saw that the cars were much better looking in person than they were in the renders. I say this particularly for Red Bull. I say this for Racing Bulls as well. Audi was phenomenal. What a beautiful looking car it is. Mercedes, standard Mercedes. McLaren, if I had a choice, uh, and we're renovating our home, right? So this is what I want to do. I really want to take a picture, or honestly, I want a life size, not life size. That's impossible. That's a dream. I wish I had a house as big as Nelson Piquet so that I can put my Formula One car there. But I wish I had a really big scale version of that black camo McLaren at my place because God, that's the most beautiful looking McLaren I've seen since the MP427 back in 2012. But camo has generally been the trend, Kunal. Why use camo liveries at all at a shakedown like this?
So everyone's been telling you that camo livery is to hide all your designs. It's to keep them a secret from all the spying photographers and other team members. Yes, that is one part of it. But because I've had the chance to work on the commercial and the marketing side of things with the Formula One team, Soumil, the other reason is that it's early in the season to lock in a design, to lock in sponsor placements, because there will be conversations going on all the way till the first race of the season about which position goes to who. There are
Yeah.
sponsors who are coming in at higher price, lower price. How do you basically put the whole puzzle together? And then you don't want to commit to it so early in January itself and basically block some of those discussions off. So what do? You say you're going to have a camo livery, you just turn everything black, which of course works on the engineering side, but then also gives you a chance to lock in livery designs and, more importantly, sponsor placements for when the season actually starts, because most of the eyeballs will start coming in the first week of March. Right now we still have very evolved, the purest fans who are watching, but the fence sitters, the new fans, etc., are just hearing about it in social media. But when they sit to watch the races is when those liveries literally need to be there. And of course I would love to have some of those testing liveries make it to the races as well. But for now, let's be pleased with all the camouflaged livery, Somal.
Yeah, I I agree, but just can we have that black McLaren? Please. It is so beautiful. It is so
So which
beautiful.
which was your favorite livery then?
That McLaren. My God. My God. I I I will try to get a die cast of it. I'm trying to build up my own Formula One die cast collection. I've already got last year's MCL whatever. I don't remember the number. It's Lando's title winning car from 25 because first season I got to commentate on. I have got one from Max. This season I got to commentate on him as well, 24. And now Verstappen at Suzuka. So this will be the fourth one. This black McLaren.
Wow.
It'll
Because
be it'll be nice.
even the Cadillac was black, right? Or
Yes.
black with, why, if you're choosing black, why not go with the Cadillac then? Because they had a fairly decent week. They showed up, everything ran, even if it ran a little slow, but again, we were not pushing for performance. And for me, Cadillac was like, we're going to have to push the car and see if the car tells us where it's hurting, because for them, everything is new, right? So I
Yeah.
loved the Cadillac livery, Soumil, but we've just picked up black. And I wish the Alpine livery was, for example, a little different. It's still the pink and blue, but we don't complain about the iPhones looking the same every year when they are launched as well. So liveries will definitely keep changing as the season goes forward. I think I've lost you, Somal, or at least I believe so. At least it seems like you're not there. But talking of Alpine, do you believe Christian Horner will actually end up buying a part of Alpine? Do you believe Christian Horner and Flavio Briatore will make for a good pair when it comes to resurrecting Team Enstone and everything that they've stood for in the history of Formula One? Because clearly Christian's coming in with the racing acumen, but also investor. So just the way you have paid drivers who have talent, but also sponsor backing. Here's a team principal who's got talent, but investor backing, trying to get his foot back into the Formula One paddock.
I think it'll be phenomenal. I think that'll be the most one driver focused Formula One team in history. It will surpass Schumacher and Ferrari. It will surpass Verstappen and Red Bull Racing purely because you've got the two people who constructed Schumacher and Verstappen's career starts together in one team. Imagine who they elect to be their chosen one, Kunal. I wonder who that person is. And the weight of two of those people together supporting your journey, it's I'm not talking about a generational driver. I'm sorry, no disrespect to these two, but I then agree with Flavio that it doesn't matter who's driving the car because Pierre and Franco are clearly not that level of driver. We're talking about someone well beyond. I'm very excited if these two do come together at the end.
Yes. And the other news was also Christian Horner met Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Could this be the precursor to the 12th team in Formula One application that Mohammed Ben Sulayem would put out? Could it be a Chinese team, that we could see after Cadillac has been given entry with a lot of political weight? Or could it be an Indian Formula One team back on the grid? But clearly, Christian Horner is pulling all
Yes.
the strings he can to get his foot back into the door of Formula One.
There's also something with Donald Trump recently, wasn't there, Kunal?
Yes, Donald Trump has announced the Freedom 250 IndyCar race. I don't follow IndyCar. I know Dennis Hauger is going to be racing there. I know you love your IndyCar, but can you imagine the slap on Formula One's face, if we were to call it that? But IndyCar is made in America, literally. Donald Trump wants to, have a race in the national capital, and what a better way to celebrate it. Than having cars going racing, and motorsport is much loved in America. And I think what a beautiful trigger to expand the scope of the sport in that continent, Sonal.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump also is going to have a UFC fight in his house, in the White House.
Why is that?
Donald Trump's a crazy man. I think I lost you there for a second. My network's not been the best today.
Yeah, let's see how the IndyCar race, the Freedom 250 Grand Prix, actually shapes up. And maybe this gives Formula One new ideas. But Formula One would be wondering, what would it take for Donald Trump to call us to host that extra race? But truthfully, somebody would have to pay the hosting fee to Formula One. And clearly that wouldn't be the White House unless you call it the White House Grand Prix.
Uh, this is a good moment to end the episode because I cannot tolerate the conversation of another Formula One race in America without us even considering an Indian Grand Prix. So Time's out, guys. That's enough. That's all you've heard from us. No, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We will be back with more as the days and weeks progress. We'll be getting more guests, more interesting talking points. Our Pitch to Podium episode, which is our feature conversation where we talk about things outside of what's happening on track, should be coming up soon as well. So make sure you're tuned in for that. And make sure you're subscribing to the Inside Line F1 podcast on all of our channels, YouTube and Instagram, and Kunal Esha on Twitter and IG. And I am Soumil Arora on Instagram and Twitter too. Thank you, guys. We will catch you in a bit.